Hi everyone, so here today with three guests. Many of you will know Chris Lambrianou. We've got Mickey Collins and Bill Cooper. And we've got a few things to talk about today. Chris has got a few things you want to talk about, don't you?
Yeah.
Before we get to that, obviously my channel, I talk a lot about steering kids away from crime and just keeping them on the right path. And Chris is a perfect example of how crime didn't pay. He served 15 years, didn't you? Loyalty to the firm he was with wasn't respected, and he wasn't looked after, were you, in the end? You sort of took the blame for stuff that you didn't do, and 15 years in prison. So we're going to go back to your, well, in the Kray Twins firm, and you got your 15 years, which was for...
Yeah, for murder.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that. I didn't know. We went to a party and it kicked off there. They had a lot of drink and, you know, Reggie was on speed and that kind of thing, and out of control.
Yeah.
Lost it, and I'd left before the fight, so, you know, started really, and because I didn't go down there to have an argument. I wanted to go to the West End that night, but we finished up going to the Regency Club because the Mills brothers had never been there, and from there it was a total disaster, and I didn't even want to be down there. It was more Ray wanted to meet my brother and said, Chris, you should meet my brother Alan. So I went down there and look where it led me into 15 years in prison.
Well, you turned up there and the Jack the Hat's body was... No.
When I turned up there, we went to the party, but when we down there, arguments started. I didn't go down there for an argument. I came down there to have a drink and then go to the West End, and I didn't want to know. And I was kicking off a little bit about it, and Ronnie Kray came out and said, what's the problem? And Connie Whitehead said he wants out of it, and Ronnie said, well, take him home. I'd had quite a bit to drink.
Yeah.
He dropped me off home. He said, Chris, don't go back. So I'm sitting there, I've had a cup of coffee, I've sobered up a little bit, and my car is at the Regency Club, because we left my car was blocked in, so I couldn't get it out when we left the Regency Club, and so we went in Jack the Hat's car. And when we got to the Regency Club, to Erin Road, went downstairs and there was a party, and the next thing Jack goes running in, where's the birds, where's the booze? And then an argument started. And that was it, I wanted out. I didn't want to be involved in any arguments.
Because he was very gay, wasn't he, Jack? Yeah. He wasn't as they portrayed him in the first film.
No.
He was a fighter,
He was a fighting man. He was a game man, you understand what I'm saying?
So he wouldn't have took anything?
No. So I left, but then I went back to get my car, and while I was there, I thought I'd go and get Tony from Erin Road, and I went round to Erin Road and knocked on the door, and Ronnie Bender came up and he said they've killed him. And then he said, don't leave me, so the next thing I know I'm involved in, you know, a catastrophe.
Yeah.
If there's a comedy of errors, as Shakespeare said, there's also a tragedy of errors. And that led to 15 years in prison for murder.
Yeah, you got even though you were, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I was given every opportunity by Nipper Reid to tell them what had happened, and I went along with the Kray story. There was there was no party, there was nothing happened, and that was the story.
Am I right in thinking that if the Krays had gone guilty, then the firm would...
They could have got us all out of it, but you see, what they did was Donahue, you take that murder, Hart, you take that murder, you take that murder, and you take that crime. And they were asking people who had children to take these different crimes, and they weren't going to do it. I mean, my brother Tony had 2 children, they were only young. I had one, my daughter was 18 months old. Ronnie Bender had 3 boys. You understand what I mean? We all lost something. They didn't have children.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
There's no way to...
It's not the way...
No.
You know, they just... Everything they did, it was all about them. it was also the, what's his name, Pearson was writing a book about them. It was just another chapter in their book.
Yeah.
There was nothing professional, there was nothing, when you look at the people whose lives they destroyed, they were their friends.
So your loyalty got repaid with betrayal, really.
Really, I mean, and then they wrote a book, saying, yeah, we did this, we did that, and everything else. You
which if it come out at the beginning,
we could have all waltzed. You understand what I mean?
So it's like kicking the face.
Yeah,
totally.
But any of the other firms, and I knew a lot of the other boys on the other firms, they would have stood by their people.
Yeah, gone down with it.
Yeah, but they would have taken it.
Tried to take them.
Yeah, that's right, and that's it. Because I did work with a certain person from a very strong firm in London, and he went down, kept me right out of it.
Yeah.
And he took the time as well. And when I went to see him in Brick, he said, Chris, you shouldn't be here. You understand?
When you got your 15, was it a 15 minimum?
It was a 15 minimum. I had to do 15 years, yeah. Ronnie Bender had to do 20.
Yeah.
And he was another one who didn't do that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
So that, I mean, there it is in a nutshell.
It was two murder trials put together.
Mm.
You understand?
It was the George Cornell one and the...
and yeah.
I mean, because you also knew Frank Mitchell, didn't you? You met Frank Mitchell.
Yeah, I met Frank Mitchell, yeah. And that was another sad part, you know, get a man out of prison and then wipe him away. Why not send him to Spain? Have him looked after over there, you know, and then present a case of why he should be free. He's civilised, he's doing things in a proper manner. You understand?
How was Frank where did you meet Frank Mitchell?
I met Frank when he was out on the street.
Did you?
Yeah.
Big powerful man apparently.
Big powerful man,
very
yeah.
respected.
Yeah, he was, yeah. Good family as well, who loved him.
Mm.
You know, it's the same as I knew George Cornell. George Cornell was, in fact, you know, I can say honestly, he was a straight up guy.
I heard that as well when he was.
You know, he was genuine, yet another man. You know, on the spur of a moment, a murder happens.
He was too brave for his own good.
In front of a barmaid, an innocent girl, in front of other people in the Blind Beggar pub. Straight up, how can you get away with it? You can't get away with it.
Yeah, brazen.
It's
brazen, wasn't it?
That's right. You understand what I mean? It just it didn't make sense.
You think Ronnie had that gangster complex where he wanted to be like the TV, the ones in the films?
Yeah, he wanted. I mean,
he wanted the publicity, didn't he, to be?
But then you also got a situation where in England the gangster American films were the big thing.
Yeah.
Legg's Diamond and
George Raft and
all the different top stars were playing gangsters and all that kind of thing. And there was this thing, the public loved going to watch these films. Al Capone and all the rest of them. And then, you know, even one of the top films was The Godfather, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The trilogy. But the bottom line is that we wanted our own gangsters. We didn't want to be looking to America. And the Krays provided all that.
Yeah.
But the hero worship and the kind of...
I used to read all the books, and I had a romanticised, rose-tinted view of the Krays before I found out the true thing of it. I used to
came to your own conclusion.
Yeah, well, at the age of 15, 16, I thought they were typical old school. No women and children get hurt. Look after your own people. Yeah. I looked at it through. It was an honourable type thing. Which obviously
love their mum and all the rest of it.
You look at that rose-tinted view, and then I found out later on it wasn't to be like that, was it?
Against all my best wishes, I went with Violet, Charlie, and what's her name, and Carol, to see the twins and tell them what had happened when they brought me down from Birmingham. And when I walk in, Charlie goes to me, Chris, you shouldn't be here. But the twins were like, oh great, come on. And it was what the mother said to me. She said all their friends have deserted them. Why did their friends desert them? Because they wanted their friends to take all the blame so they could walk. You understand what I'm saying? They didn't give a monkeys about anybody but themselves. You know, and I walked out of that prison, Brixton prison, after visiting them, I walked out with their mum and dad, they all had handkerchiefs in their hands. Tears flowing from their eyes. So you tell me they didn't break their mum's heart.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Mm.
They helped the poor. They did this, they did that. What's the truth of it all?
Was there truth to that or not? Not. No.
People had nothing. You couldn't steal nothing off them.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's the Robin Hood type image that everyone...
Yeah, that's right.
It was,
I mean, yeah, but the press have
yeah.
carried that through.
It's the romanticised view,
right.
which is not the
it's
truth.
Not the truth, no.
So when you went to prison, you were in all the... You went to Durham.
Yeah.
And you went,
Well, they had these maximum security prisons, and I went up to Durham with Ronnie Kray and my brother Tony, Ronnie Bender, and Ian Barry. And when we got up there, I said to Ronnie, help us out on the appeal. And he went, well, you know, we're all going to walk. And I thought, you think you've got number 10, like Kenny Bloom, a friend of mine, used to send me all these postcards in regular. And a picture of number 10 Downing Street was just a picture of the door of number 10. This was a government thing. The government wanted them wiped out. You had Boothby on you know, being kind of criticised and brought to the front. And then you had Dryburgh. And they wanted rid of them. You understand what I'm saying? Shut them up.
yeah.
And that
Boothby was with Ronnie, wasn't he?
yeah, that's right, yeah. So it was all... had to be stopped, and they stopped it.
Yeah. So in Durham, you were in with Charlie Richardson?
Yeah, well, Charlie was a different kettle of fish. Charlie was a businessman, you know, and he was a character. And they talk about this terrible guy and everything else like that, and this war between the Krays and the Richardsons. It's rubbish. I mean, honestly, when you're in prison and you're with people like Charlie or anybody else, Bruce Reynolds, you stick as one. You understand? You've got each other's back because it's you against the system. There's not these different wars that's going on here, there and everywhere. And then Charlie would say you know, you'd look at a guy and say, Charlie, what, you know, and he'd go, Chris, everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story, and I want to know what that story is because it'll prevent me making the same mistake as they've made. And another one he'd say is, throw your head over the wall and your body will follow. And that what he meant was pick up a book.
Yeah.
Go on an adventure.
Take yourself out in your,
And he'd give me a book about South Africa. And I actually went on a journey to South Africa. Yeah. I mean, I learned that the first commandos, SAS, were Zulus, Shaka the Zulu. You understand all these different characters. And then you had Bruce Reynolds who turned around and said, Chris, watch what the clever ones are doing and do likewise. What a sound piece of advice.
It really is. Educate yourself, educate yourself in there.
And they said to me one day, they were going along to these two university professors who were giving a talk. I thought, I'm an East End kid, what do I want to go to listen to professors for? But I went because they said, Chris, come along, listen. And they were educating me. These guys, you know, I mean, okay, so they were strong men or whatever they were. They were allegedly criminals. I never saw that side of them. I saw the humane side.
Yeah.
I saw the man that had broke his heart, he lost his family. Bruce was a man of integrity. You know what Bruce's passion was? Bikes, cycling, racing cycling, and all that kind of thing. He loved his son, you know, and his missus he thought the world of.
Yeah.
And Charlie was the same. Wisby was the same. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All these people, little Roy James, all these people, they were in there for an unlimited period of time. And you saw them. Yeah. You saw the human side of them. And they were good people.
Yeah.
And what they did to put food on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand? A lot of them would have made enough money to go straight.
Yeah. And then that prison sentence you had there, you learned from that, and you've never been back in.
I've never been back since. No.
46 years.
And all them men were part of it.
For encouraging
part
you.
of my journey. Yeah, they encouraged me. Yeah.
I mean,
and they made me grow up, and they made me kind of understand that you know, there was that moment in time where you had that thing where you think, I can't go on anymore.
Yeah.
I'm fighting a system. I never know when I'm going to get out, if I'm going to get out. You know, I've walked out on my child and my wife. I've walked away from everything. I've destroyed all the good relationships in my life. I've put my father through untold misery, decent human beings. I put the Krays in front of them, you understand what I'm saying?
So without question, if you could turn back time, you would never get involved in crime, would you?
No, I would never, no.
This is what I say to people, it doesn't pay, does it?
For me, it'd be education. That's the most important thing. Read, learn, inwardly digest. You can achieve anything. You've got 2 arms, 2 feet, and 1 brain. You understand what I mean? Listen, you know, let people advise you. Take it on board what people are telling you. Listen to your mother, listen to your father. Listen to people that are trying to protect you and guide you. Because more often you think you know it all, but you don't know nothing. I've stood with ladies who've lost their children to knife crime. It breaks your heart. You're standing there and somebody's taken a life. They don't know that they're taking their parents and their sisters and their brothers, their wife or girlfriend into prison with them. They never know when they're going to get out. Is that sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
The knife crime is something that we're both...
Yeah, we're both involved with. I mean, we've done a protest.
I'm coming
Mickey,
with you.
myself.
Yeah.
We did Scotland Yard, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We did number 10 Downing Street with Sue Edges. And,
yeah, we did.
And what's her name? Francesca Littleston and people like that. You understand? Even Ben Spann. We did it all.
I'm on board with you on that.
Yeah, I know you're doing the same
I'll
thing.
come whenever it's next on, I'm with you.
Why? I mean, you're a fighting man, you're a boxing man, you understand what I'm saying? Back in the day, we'd stand out on the cobbles and we'd have a row, you understand?
Yeah.
That was how we were brought up.
And then you shake hands
And
after.
shake hands afterwards.
Everyone I've had fights with over the years, I talk to all of them now.
That's right.
I've had so many, bump into them, say hello, how you doing?
But now what you've got is social media running this one down. And the guy's highly insulted, so he's got to go after him and put a stop to it. He don't put a stop to it. You understand what I'm saying?
Social media's got a lot to play.
It's got a lot to answer
they
for.
put videos out challenging the other.
That's right.
Even if they kill one of them,
yeah,
they put a video out saying they've done this.
They talk about like the angst between like the Krays and the Richardsons. It never confronted it like that, you understand what I mean? Ronnie Kray and his madness turned it into something else. You understand what I'm saying? He didn't go over to Richardson's Manor and start on them over there. And they didn't come over the water. They had their businesses. Mm. They thought about their future. They weren't thinking about... And yeah, they were doing very, very well. And they looked after... The Richardsons looked after their friends. You understand? Mm. They didn't call them a firm. They were their friends.
Yeah.
And they looked out for them. You understand what I'm saying? And you've got to give them due things. Did the Krays look after anybody? No. Did they shot Albert Donoghue in the foot?
Then got him on the firm.
Yeah, and then got him on the firm. Then they shoot somebody else and go and see him in hospital and asked him, does he need a clean shirt and a few quid? Frank Mitchell, they went to his sisters and went and give her some money and she threw it at him down the hallway. You know, you're talking about different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but, you know, if you look up to them as heroes and stuff like that, I see the real people, the real men.
Yeah, you had to learn the hard way.
I did learn the hard way. I never ever wanted to be on their firm because the people I mixed with didn't trust them. You understand what I'm saying? They just saw them as people you could not trust. They didn't have a good name.
Even then? Even
then, you understand, amongst the people that counted, they didn't have a good name. So, you know, that was it. I mean, I read a good book, and this good book tells me about a man who had a staff, and the staff he could lean on, he could walk with, and he could point it in a direction. We're going there. But he was asked to throw it on the floor, and it turned into a snake. Out of hand, it was out of control. In his hand, it was a staff. Throw it on the floor, and that's the human spirit. You understand?
Yeah.
you have to control it.
Yeah.
Because it will take you all over the place. It's greed. I've got to have that. I've got to have that. I've got to have that woman. I've got to have that house. I've got to have that money. I've got to have that telephone. Oh, an iPhone 16. I've got to have that.
You've got to keep hold of.
That's right. You've got to keep control.
Yeah.
That's the staff of life.
So you never. Yeah, that's a good one. So alcohol, no alcohol for 46 years, no anxieties, nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
That's good.
No, I'm in control of my spirit.
Brilliant. So we've got a question from, thank you for the question by the way, that was from Rick. Thank you, Rick. Benjamin has asked, did you go to Ronnie or Reggie's funeral, or had you washed your hands with them by that time?
No, I worked at the Ley Community and my job was to take people to court. Mainly, that day I was at the Old Bailey and I'd taken a guy down there and I had to get up and speak on his behalf. And I went and said, look, this guy has actually done his condition of residence. We believe he can help us, we can help him. We've got the funding available to actually pay for the programme, and he's done as well as we can expect, and we think we can help him. There's more drugs in prison than there is out on the street. So let me take him back to the Ley Community, and it's not a 5-minute, this is a year-long programme, and he will change, and he will benefit by fitting into society in a proper way. And the judges listened to me and I got him off.
So that was the day of...
Yeah, that was the day of the funeral.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
you did something
that was
positive.
more important to me than going to a funeral, which was going to be a mass kind of thing. It was just a show thing, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was a positive thing to do.
Yeah, that was a positive thing to do.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you.
If you weren't going to pay any respects or go and do anything, go there when it's quieter.
Yeah.
Go there after the event.
The media, gone.
Yeah, and that kind of thing. Because I went to a funeral and I spoke to a woman there. I said, what are you doing here? Oh, she said, I've come to see all the gangsters. And I thought, this is a funeral. It's goodbye. It's kind of, you know, it's...
That was the nature of the myth.
Yeah, that's right.
They were so popular.
That's right, yeah.
Still are to this day.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was the nature of the celebrity.
And that's why she went celebrity.
Yeah. Thank you, Benjamin, for that. So, I've got a few questions from the subscribers that you're happy to answer.
Yeah.
This is from Rick Custer. Rick said, could you ask Chris what his relationship with alcohol has been? Has it played a part in the decisions he has made, good or bad? Also, what are the key rules that you live by to live your best life? Have you ever had any anxiety or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, alcohol had a big part to play before I went away. I've never touched alcohol since I've come home. It's just something, I want to be in control.
We've got another question from Carl Chalice. In your opinion, which family ruled the London underworld during the 50s and 60s, or families?
Well, there were so many families, and they didn't shout it from the rooftops, unlike the Krays. They kept it quiet, but they were decent lads.
And were probably bigger.
And they were bigger, and they weren't frightened of the Krays. They ruled their own things in their own different way. They went into areas that the Krays couldn't go, and I won't mention them because it's not right. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there were some pretty decent firms around.
I think most people know the big names of the firms that were around.
Well, I know. I know, and I'm not talking about them.
Yeah, all right, I won't say either.
They were good friends.
Yeah.
Look at the photographs on the online, and you'll see who was there.
Nice one. I had a few questions myself, Chris, and obviously...
Have you answered all the questions?
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, thanks for that. That was Benjamin, I think. Yeah. Oh, sorry, that was Carl. Thank you, Carl, for that one. I was going to ask you, Chris. Obviously, my channel's a lot of it's fighting and bare knuckle stuff.
Yeah.
True crime as well. Lenny McLean. I'm going to throw some names at you. Lenny McLean, Paul Sykes, Roy Shaw. Who else? Yeah. So that you knew all of them.
I did, yeah. And I can still remember with Paul Sykes, I was in Hull jail with Paul, myself and Ronnie Bender, and he was training. people say this about it. He was a bully. He was doing this, that, and the other. Interfered with kids. He didn't do none of that kind of stuff. You understand? He was across the landing, and I saw him regular, always polite to us. He respected the people who were doing long term.
He's openly said he respected you.
Yeah, that's right. He did in his book. Yeah, that's right. And the fact is this, that he was training. He was mad about training. I'm telling you, that guy was one fighter, one strong fighter. And we were talking to him, and Ronnie Bender said to me, Chris, he said, I'd like to help Paul. I said, why don't you get in touch with, Steen? And he said, do you think he'd help? I said, I think he might do, just give him Alex Steen. So he got in touch with Alex, and Alex sent Ray Patterson up, which was Floyd Patterson's brother. And he came up to Old Jail and he trained with him in there. And Paul put up a good show with him, you understand? Spar, yeah. And when he came out of prison, he turned professional.
So you helped out set him, set him out?
Did, but he was already fit, you understand? He was determined to become a fighter, he was determined to box. And we just helped him along the way, you understand what I'm saying?
You rate him as one of the best fighters?
I do. I mean, he was just this kind of guy who kind of was powerful, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah,
he could box and he could fight.
Yeah, that's right.
So how long were you in there with him for?
I think I was in there with him for about 2 years.
Yes, and so I always ask where these rumours have come from.
Where?
The rumours have come from, the negative stuff that he's done. And there's people that I know that say it's definitely true. Yeah. There's people that say not sure.
Well, I never saw nothing like that when I was in jail.
Yeah.
And I was on the same wing with him, he was across the way. And I'd have seen what...
Yeah.
He kept his own counsel. He was just a strong man. You understand? He was staunch to his own beliefs. He was an educated man because he read, and took it all on board, and he could argue with anybody. He could hold his own in any argument. It didn't matter where it was coming from. And then, Lenny McLean was another man. Lenny was a pleasant kind of guy, you understand? When we mixed with him, he was a fun type of person. And, decent bloke.
Yeah, but intimidated, and you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big man. You understand what I'm saying? But the other thing as well, I've also met his daughter. We went to a boxing promotion with Ben Spam. Yeah, nice girl.
I know Kelly. Yeah,
very likeable. Yeah, and also Roy Shaw.
Yeah,
went to a funeral with Roy. I picked him up because a man who was very close to him was a man called Tel Curry.
Yeah, I remember Tel.
Who wrote a book, Left Hands and Dangerous Crooks. And he was a nice guy. I mean,
there's a picture of me, you and Tel at Roy's funeral.
That's right.
In the book.
That's right. But what happened was, we picked him up because I kind of felt a bit sorry because he, just to get him out. Me and Terry and Andy, a guy who was driving at the time, went and picked Roy up and we took him down to this funeral. And as it happens, Charlie Richardson was there. So on the way back, we were chatting away, and he turned around and he said, "It's a sad day, Chris." I said, "Why?" It is a sad day. Having gone to a funeral where a young person has died. He went, "We said goodbye to Charlie today." He was talking to Charlie 2 hours before. Yeah. And dementia was sitting in, and we went to his house. And I still remember Tel Curry sat by him on the floor, holding his hand, breaking his tears running down his face, because Roy was not the man he was. No. You understand? And I'm telling you something, I'd known Roy for many, many years. When he was at Borstal, I was in the same time as he went into Borstal.
Oh yes, you knew him as kids.
I knew him as a kid and everything else like that. Hated bullies. Yeah. Was a kind of man who held his ground, another one.
And he was very quiet, he wasn't loud and brash,
wasn't. No, quiet, he had his own thoughts.
I really got on with Roy.
Roy was a good bloke.
Came to my fights and I was visiting him right up until the day he died. Yeah. And he did obviously deteriorate.
Yeah, and I, like you, I mean, I met him quite a few times. and I've got photographs of him shaking hands with him and stuff like that. Yeah, he was a lovely guy.
Yeah, he was brilliant. Even when I met him at 66, he was, so 25 years ago, he was still in good shape at 66.
Yeah, well, I met him at 55.
Yeah, you met him. Yeah.
In the Boston.
Yeah. No, I met him when he was, you met him in 1955, didn't you?
Right, yeah.
Wow.
So, and then we did another thing. Alex Dean's son asked us, would we go down to Wales, bringing boxing back to Wales? And we went down there and he said, well, who would you like to do it with? He said, I've got Ronnie Knight here. He said, would you do it? Well, I knew Ronnie Knight quite well and he's a lovely guy. And we went down there and I'm telling you something, we got looked after.
In Wales.
And and it was excellent. I'll send you a poster.
Yeah, thank you. You ever hear of Malcolm Price?
No, I didn't know.
Never heard of him. He was. Did you ever hear about him, Bill?
Who's that?
Malcolm Price, the hardest man in Wales. He was a pro boxer for a little while in the 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, no, this was later than that.
Yeah, but he was well known. He was still well known later on. Malcolm was. We had a name across the country.
Yeah,
he did. But, he was meant to fight Lenny at one point.
Yeah,
Lenny McLean. But yeah, that was brilliant.
I mean, the man who really is underrated was Bill's friend. You know, Cliff
Fields. Yeah. Bill was in the corner, weren't you, when Cliff beat Lenny twice?
Was, yeah.
And didn't Cliff roll him out the ring? Yeah. But there's an interview on my channel. I'll put a link to the description of me and Bill talking about Cliff and Lenny. We've got quite a few good snippets, but
and I admire them both for what they did. I mean, they started a club for youngsters and stuff like that.
I saw that club, didn't I? We went past it when I came down there. Well, you and Cliff started up, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think he did a brilliant thing there, Bill.
Cliff was a good man, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Good man, legendary fighter. And I got to meet him a couple of times, luckily with you, Bill, at the end.
Yeah.
Sadly, right before he died, but I still wanted to meet him, being one of the people I looked up to.
We took Roy up, didn't we?
We took Roy Shaw up as well. So another reason you wanted to come up, Chris, was to get some recognition for Mickey, who's doing the a lot of work, unpaid work for Krays. So I'll let you.
Well, Mickey, I mean, I've got the utmost respect for him because he's a man who does things from the goodness in his heart. He goes and he takes care of the graves. Now, lots of people want to go and visit the graves and all that kind of thing. A lot of cemeteries you walk in, the graves are stones are laying down and they're damaged and broken, and it's kind of sad really. But Mick's one of them people, he goes and restores them. And nobody asks him to do it, he just goes and does it because it needs doing. And I've been blessed that he's done my father and my brother Tony's grave. And he started work in a cemetery, and he's got a gift that he can turn things that are decaying back into life. And one of the graves, that he has gone and done has been the Krays grave. And also Francis was sinking, he did that. And also we went and we were looking for Cornell's grave because I'd been given a lump sum of money and I didn't know where to put it, and I thought, well, somebody had damaged George Cornell's grave, that we would actually go and find it and help to restore it. I got in touch with all the stonemasons in the area to find out if anybody was doing anything about the stone, and I couldn't find anybody. So we went to actually look for the grave, and Mickey will explain it, his work he's done, and and just he deserves respect for what he's done. I mean, people will go to the Kray grave and they'll get photographs taken, but sometimes it's a right mess and it does need caring for. And Mickey's one of them people who does it.
Don't forget we found Freddie Mills' grave as well.
Yeah, Freddie Mills' grave, but the other factor is Billy as well. Him and Julie, they actually put a bench there so people could actually sit down. So some people do care and they do things in the proper way. Not out of anything else, but just to sort of encourage people to be better people by doing something there. So maybe Mickey might explain some of the things.
I just want to touch on something what Matt said earlier on, but when I first started doing the Krays graves, it was they were glorified. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I used to go down there back in 2000. That's how long ago I've been going down there and doing things. And you actually did think they were these great people, but only until I got involved with Chris quite a few years ago now. I cleaned Chris's family, brother's grave, and I restored it, relettered it, cleaned it. Me and Chris got in contact. Chris got in contact with me. Got my number through other people, and we got in contact. And only then I learnt the truth, like you, Matt. You learn the truth as you go along, but I still maintained going to the Krays graves, cleaning them, because I promised to keep doing that. But what I did do, Francis' grave was very in neglect. No one was looking after it. I've got photos of before and after of where the state it was in. It was sinking. I actually went to a stonemason I know, and I raised the money with Chris and Maureen, and we raised the money and we had that stone lifted.
Can you show the letter from
and I had to go to Roberto Kray to get permission because she owns the graves.
So what I'll do, I'll put some pictures up on of the letter from Roberto Kray.
Yeah.
And have you got pictures of Francis Kray's grave?
Yes, I have before and after. Yeah.
So I'll put some photos up of all the graves that you've tidied up.
Yeah.
And put all that time in.
Yeah.
All off of your own.
Yeah, all off my own back. I don't ask for anything for it. I go to the Krays. I try to go there once a month. I try to go to Chris's family once a month. Not last weekend, the weekend before, the Easter weekend, I was down there and I lifted Chris's family grave because it was sinking. I done that myself.
Well
done. But Francis' grave was a bit too big because obviously when Reggie put that stone, because Reggie was the owner of the graves, and then after when he died, Roberto became the owner. So I had to get permission off her to get it lifted because you have to go and get a permit off the cemetery. So I got in contact with a stonemason I know. Normally he would charge £900 to lift that stone, but I raised the money and he only charged me, Chris and Maureen £300.
Because it was you.
Because it was me.
Yeah.
Right? And so I've got the documentation of that stone being lifted by him, and it actually has got Roberto Kray's signature giving me permission, and Walthamstow Council gave me permission to get it done.
Yeah.
So I've got all that.
Oh, well done.
And now I keep it, because that stone originally would have cost £2 to £3 grand when Reggie put it down. This day, that stone will be 25,000.
That's made such a difference to all the graves you've been to then.
Yeah.
You've literally just rejuvenated them.
Yeah. I mean, we went to look for George Cornell's grave. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, with Cornell's grave, we couldn't find it because it was someone had smashed it up. Someone had smashed it up and everything. We couldn't find it, but I've gone through photos and I found it where it was. It's back now. I got in contact with the people. I found out where the stone was because John Cornell's son died, and the stone was taken away, but now it's been put back, so it's been all redone.
Brilliant.
Nothing to do with me.
And right behind the Cornell's,
it's Freddie Mills'
cemetery grave, is Freddie Mills'.
Freddie Mills was the light.
That's right.
World champ. Was he world champ?
Yeah, world champ. I mean, it was amazing to go there. And then you also took me to Billy Fury's.
Billy Fury's grave. I've done Billy Fury's. I've cleaned a lot of them. I've restored Diana Dawes and her husband's as well. And I will want to touch down on one thing. Is back in 2016, someone wrote graffiti on Francis' grave in Chingford Cemetery. Now, God rest her soul, Paula Williamson. She got in contact with me and showed me. I went down and removed the graffiti, and I've got pictures of that graffiti, of what people said.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, and
an innocent girl.
What did France ever do wrong to
Nothing. Nobody.
Nothing.
So how can someone do that?
Well, they did, and I've still got that. I've actually got a photograph.
She was only what?
23.
Yeah.
23. Yeah.
That just goes to show there's some twisted people.
And then they smashed George Cornell's grave.
And they smashed Cornell's.
Smashed the stone up there.
And so, but obviously, you know, that graffiti was on, and I've got before and after. I've got all the documentation where I took that off. So yeah, and I don't ask for anything. I do it out of the kindness of my heart.
Yeah, well done. I really respect that.
And I will continue doing it.
Yeah.
Well done.
I mean, there's other places. I mean, well, I've been with you to your nephew's grave as well.
Yeah, my poor nephew who was unfortunately murdered 14 years ago this year.
Yeah.
through crime, road rage. So
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
And then also, you know, I mean, you said to me, Chris, I want to go and visit Paula's grave.
Paula Williamson.
And we went up there. I went up with Mickey, took some flowers. I took a rosary up there and hung it on the grave. And I only went up there because I thought this was a girl who was confused and lost and damaged, and you know, but I was to learn later that she didn't commit suicide, that she just accidentally overdosed.
But the stone, Chris, was unreal, wasn't it?
But what got to me was how much she was loved. I mean, the stone, Mick, was amazing, wasn't it? Really, it must have cost an absolute fortune. I would put in the region of how much?
Oh, I'll say 30,000.
30,000. Her parents had put this stone there, and they must have loved her immensely.
She was loved, I heard.
Yeah, but she was damaged. She was lost, and you know, she gave herself away. And I just, you know, it's.
When I was friends with Paul, we went to Ruth Ellis's grave.
Yeah.
We found Ruth Ellis's because Paul always wanted to go there, and we found that. We give it a bit of a clean, everything this, that, and the other. So yeah, I've done that with Paula. So she was like, that was pretty good.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that Charlie Bronson thought the world of that girl. And I think that what happened was she just lost it when she went abroad, enjoying herself, probably had too much to drink. And I don't think she betrayed him in any way, you understand, had a sexual relationship.
He got the ump, didn't he?
Yeah, and he got the ump over that, which was sad really, but you know, and shortly after that she passed away. And I think it broke her heart really that she'd done what she did there, you understand what I'm saying? And but as I said, she was loved. I saw that.
And the stone was unreal.
Yeah, it was unreal.
My friend wrote a book, Lee Wortley, Lee Wortley.
Yeah.
He was friends with her. He said she was lovely as well.
Yeah,
I've got that book.
Everyone I spoke to.
And you know, it had been cared for. There were flowers on the grave as well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was amazing. And we met that lovely girl up there,
Sharon,
Sharon, who really
she's a lovely person.
Looked after us and
took
us into her
like
home.
you mentioning that, Chris. She like you mentioning that.
No, she was a good girl. I respected her.
Yeah,
she provided food and drink and everything else like that, because you know, everywhere was closed, and
but
you know,
Chris,
the hospitality was amazing.
There is some good people in the world.
Yeah, there are some good people in the world.
Yeah, 100%. Talking about that, can we talk about the Ley Community?
Yeah, I'd like to speak about the Ley Community because it saved so many lives. And I asked a guy one day, I said, tell me about heroin. He said, Chris, it wants you, it wants your family, it wants your children, it wants everything. You know, it's the devil in disguise, that it gives you a high, but it doesn't tell you about the coming down, you understand? And I never knew an awful lot about it until I went to work at the Ley Community, which was a full-time job. And I was
Can you just explain what the Ley Community is as well?
It's long-term rehabilitation, drug, alcohol,
in Oxford.
Substance in Oxford, Yarnton. And sadly it's closed down for lack of funds because the government withdrew all the funds. And it got sold to a building contractor. And it used to, legend has it, they belonged to Dr. Livingstone, who I presume. And the building was amazing, but the people that were there came in there. People might look down on people who have taken drugs, but they're human like the rest of us. They've just fallen down, and they need a place where they can go to be lifted up. And what the Ley Community did was strip people down. Get into their soul, get into their heart, and repair them. You understand what I'm saying? You know, refurbish them, get them ready to go out, so they complete the program. Where it was like an onion, you'd be peeling it away all the time until you got down to them, and then you, after they were cleared through, they'd be going to social work, charity shops, what have you. and then go into the real world.
Looked after
the whole process.
And Steve Walker's a big...
and Steve Walker, a friend of mine, he was a director there, and I've got to say that man saved an awful lot of lives, but he didn't do it alone. The staff at the Ley, Sarah, Brian, Vivian, all these different people, they all did so much good, and they've passed on, to other jobs now, and I wish them all the very best, because they just picked people up off the floor and gave them a new life.